Well, we tried something different today. You'll begin to see it between this week and next week. We're going to cover the exact same passage 2 weeks in a row. Why are you doing that? Well, a couple of reasons. One, there's so much meat in this material. The whole Bible's been building up to this moment. We feel like there's also unique perspectives here. As Drew was speaking, we got to see really the contrast in this series, the brightest worship in the darkest hour, between real worship, what Jesus has been doing, and false worship, what the soldiers have been doing. Here in the pathway, there's a couple good questions on that. It begins by saying, what evidence is most compelling to you about the Bible or the life of Jesus? For many of us, it's the way he died. And while the soldiers are mocking him in their worship of him, Jesus, we're going to find out next week, exact same passages, has a psalm in his head that he's seemingly rehearsing, a messianic psalm giving him strength, that he's in the middle of God's plan, even though it looks like the devil's in the details, and also that the very phrases are prompting him to say things on the cross. We're going to see how Psalm 22 intersects with that. If you look at the Dig Deeper portion today, one of the things it mentions is what's the title? What is the title that Jesus keeps being referred to in this chapter? I'll give you a hint on that one. It's the King of the Jews. And while we know Jesus is not only the King of the Jews, he's the King of the universe. And yet as he's being mocked by the soldiers, come on, King, let's post on the sign, the King of the Jews. Let's bow down to him, let's put a crown on him, let's push the thorns into his forehead. Yet actually the irony is that the Jesus we're presented to is unlike any king. Almost every king in history will sacrifice their servants for the sake of the king. But here we see a king who's willing to sacrifice himself for the sake of the servants. Jump down here lastly to try it. It says, consider inviting a friend to the next exploring service, Cooking Up Christmas, that begins on November 15th. You're going to love this series because if we believe that Jesus Christ and his forgiveness changes everything, this cooking series, we're going to have professional cooks every week at the exploring service, cooking up something related to Christmas, but also asking the question, did this whole story just get cooked up? Or is it really true? Did the God of the universe come to us? And by doing so, did he show us how to find forgiveness, like we saw in this passage, how to live life in the most challenging of circumstances like this passage? He did. And there's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of food, and a lot of chance to hear the gospel presented in a very unique way. We'll see you next week.